Nigga, you loud, Rex. As a coach, right. You're loud as a coach, and especially as a commentator, you're very loud and you take bold takes. So when Mace asks, was it clout chasing? I don't think it's clout chasing. It's just what he do. He's loud. He talks a lot. He makes bold predictions and bold statements, and he's a colorful person as far as commentating is concerned. We're offended because, nigga, it's Shedeur, mind your business.
Yeah.
But this is what he kind of do. You know what I'm saying? Makes bold predictions, make bold statements, say a lot of outlandish shit, say that Mark Sanchez is the...
Don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. I felt that moment hit like a punch to the chest. You know the kind, when the room goes quiet even though the TV is still loud. Irvin locked in, eyes sharp, voice steady, and Rex kept doing what Rex does. Talk big, talk bold, poke the bear. But this time the bear talked back. And it wasn't reckless, it was righteous. I'm watching a Hall of Famer, one of the most respected receivers to ever lace him up, draw a line in real time and say, "No, we're not doing that today." You could feel it through the screen. The panel froze. The audience sat up. And as a fan, I did too, because this wasn't just a sports argument. This was about what we celebrate and what we punish. Rex Ryan calls it arrogance. Michael Irvin calls it confidence. And that single word choice tells you everything. If you've followed this league long enough, you know exactly why that stings. We've seen swagger framed as leadership when it comes in certain packages and labeled too much when it doesn't. Tonight wasn't new, it was just obvious. Irvin didn't flinch. He didn't tiptoe around it. He broke the fourth wall of football discourse and said what too many people dance around. A quarterback believing in himself is not a crime. A young black quarterback believing in himself should not be treated like one. You could hear the air change when he said it. It was like he cracked open the narrative and let the truth breathe. Because let's be honest, if another rookie says the exact same sentence, it's moxie. It's that dog. It's QB1 mindset. But when Shedeur owns it out loud, suddenly we're debating morality, humility, decorum. Suddenly the same confidence that gets sold on posters and commercials is a problem. And I'm tired of pretending that's not a double standard. What made Irvin's check so heavy wasn't volume. It was pedigree. He's lived it. He knows the mental math of Sundays. He knows you don't step into a huddle by apologizing for your presence. You step in like you belong. That's not arrogance. That's the entry fee. This is why the clip ripped through timelines. It wasn't another hot take. It was a correction on the record. It felt protective, not performative. It said, "We're not going to shrink a kid's belief just to make a segment neat." And as a fan, as someone who's watched prospects get carved up by the word humble while others get crowned for the exact same edge, I felt seen. I felt the weight of all those unspoken caveats finally put on the table. So here's where I stand, and I'm not wavering. Michael Irvin wasn't defending Shedeur because of a jersey, a last name, or a brand. He was defending a principle that built this game. If you make it to this level, you're allowed to say you belong at this level. He was defending the right to believe in yourself out loud. And if that makes people uncomfortable, maybe the problem isn't the confidence. Maybe the problem is who's finally confident enough to say it. There's a pattern here, and it's been sitting in plain sight for years. Every time a confident quarterback walks up to a mic, the reaction depends on what he looks like. When Joe Burrow stares down a camera and says, "I'm always confident, I expect to win," the media calls it swagger. When Baker Mayfield planted that flag at midfield, they called it passion. But when Shedeur Sanders says he believes he can outplay what he's seen in the league, suddenly it's arrogance. Suddenly it's a lack of humility. And you can't tell me that's coincidence. We've seen this movie too many times. Cam Newton smiled too big, danced too freely, and the narrative flipped overnight, from MVP to too flashy. Lamar Jackson, one of the most electric athletes to ever touch a football, had to win an MVP before analysts stopped saying, he's not really a quarterback. Even Jalen Hurts, quiet, composed, never disrespectful, still had to prove he could lead before people started saying the words, franchise guy. That's not about performance. That's perception. Because it's not the words that bother people, it's who's saying them. And that's the part the media never wants to talk about. There's a selective lens on confidence. Some players are allowed to wear it like armor, others are told to tuck it away. The same fire that fuels one man's brand burns another man's reputation. When Burrow lights a cigar, it's a meme. When Shedeur flashes his watch, it's ego. Why? Why does confidence look different depending on the skin it's wearing? Look, this isn't about protecting feelings. It's about consistency. If we love swagger in our champions, we should love it in our challengers too. The truth is, Shedeur didn't break any unspoken rule. He just broke the illusion that everyone gets treated equally when they show belief. He spoke the same language the league claims to celebrate: self-belief, drive, competitiveness. But the reaction exposed the double standard that's been baked into this culture for decades. You can almost feel the discomfort when a young black quarterback says, "I belong." It's like the room tightens. Suddenly, every word is dissected for tone. Every sentence becomes a referendum on his character instead of his talent. That's not football commentary. That's coded criticism dressed up as analysis. And that's why Michael Irvin's defense hit harder than people realize. He wasn't just defending a player, he was defending fairness. He was holding up a mirror to a system that loves to celebrate confidence until it comes from the wrong mouth. Because let's be honest, the game has always been about stories, not just stats. And some stories get the hero edit while others get the villain cut. That's not because of skill, it's because of narrative bias, the same one that decides who gets grace and who gets grilled. So yeah, this debate might sound like it's about one kid and one clip, but it's way deeper. It's about patterns. It's about what kind of confidence we cheer for and what kind we fear. This isn't about personality, it's about perception. And in this league, perception decides careers long before the first snap ever does. The truth is, the Sanders name carries a weight most people can't even imagine. It's not just a name, it's a legacy, a spotlight, a measuring stick. Every step Shedeur takes, he's walking in the shadow of one of the greatest athletes who ever lived. Deion Sanders didn't just play football, he defined it. He made it bigger, louder, faster, flashier. He turned confidence into art. He was prime time, a show within the show. And now his son is stepping into that same stage. Except in today's world, where every word, every gesture, every clip is judged, shared, and replayed millions of times. That's the curse of being born into greatness. You don't get to start from zero. You start from expectations. Fans expect you to dominate immediately. Critics expect you to crumble just as fast. There's no middle ground, no learning curve, no grace period. When your last name is Sanders, people aren't watching to see what you can do. They're watching to see if you'll live up to a myth. And that's where I give Shedeur all the credit in the world, because he doesn't run from it. He doesn't play small to make others comfortable. You can tell Deion didn't raise his kids to shrink from pressure. He raised them to manage it. You can see it in how Shedeur carries himself. He's calm but confident, playful but precise. He's been under lights since he was 3 years old, and now those lights just got brighter. But they don't blind him. They focus him. People think Prime taught his sons how to talk. No, he taught them how to believe. There's a difference. Anyone can talk. Belief is quieter. It's what keeps you steady when the whole world's waiting for you to slip. That's what Shedeur has, that internal wiring, that generational poise that doesn't break when the cameras come out. You see, when Deion was in his prime, people called him arrogant. They said he cared more about showmanship than the game itself. But what they didn't realize was that the show was the game. Primetime wasn't a nickname, it was a statement. He made football entertainment again. He made confidence look like performance art. And now Shedeur is doing it his own way. Quieter maybe, but no less bold. The irony is, the same media that once called Deion too flashy now praises players who copy his blueprint. That's how legacy works. It bends the culture until the culture forgets where it came from. But Shedeur remembers. He knows his last name doesn't just open doors. It demands proof every time he walks through one. And that's what makes his confidence so misunderstood. It's not entitlement, it's inheritance. Because when your dad's a Hall of Famer and your coach is also your mentor, every practice, every drill, every mistake, it's all magnified. There's no hiding. But there's also no fear. That's the beauty of the Sanders way. They don't apologize for excellence. They don't tone down greatness to make it palatable. They lean into it. So yeah, the world can keep trying to humble the Sanders family. They can twist every quote, nitpick every move, turn confidence into controversy. But let's be real. You can't dim a name that was built to shine. Imagine being 22 years old and waking up every day to see your name trending. Not because of what you did on the field, but because of how you said it. Imagine every facial expression, every soundbite, every clip being slowed down, picked apart, and turned into content. That's Shedeur Sanders' reality right now. Before he's even taken an NFL snap, he's already living in the pressure cooker that most veterans don't face until year 5. Every move is a headline. Every quote becomes a debate topic. Every ounce of confidence gets treated like controversy. And that's the wild part. This kid hasn't even played yet. He's still in that in-between space where promise meets judgment. The media wants him perfect before he's even proven. They want humility, but not too much. Swagger, but only when they say it's earned. It's this impossible standard, a tightrope between being confident enough to lead and quiet enough not to offend. But here's what people don't realize. That kind of scrutiny can either crush you or forge you. And Shedeur looks like a player being forged. The kid doesn't flinch. Every question that's meant to shake him, he answers calm. Every headline that tries to stir drama, he just keeps working. You can tell he's seen this movie before because his father starred in it. But this isn't just Deion's story being replayed. This is Shedeur's own script being written under the same bright lights. He's learning in real time what all the greats eventually face. The public doubt before the private breakthrough. It's the same energy Jalen Hurts had when people said he couldn't throw. The same vibe Mahomes had when scouts said he was too reckless. The same thing Brady carried when he was just a skinny kid from Michigan, drafted in the 6th round. Every great quarterback has an era of disrespect. For Shedeur, this is that moment. This is where he builds the callus that'll carry him through the league. You can feel it in the way he handles himself. He doesn't argue back. He just logs it. Every critique becomes fuel. Every take becomes tape. He's playing chess while everyone else is playing comment section. And if you know anything about players like this, you know how the story ends. The same people dissecting his confidence now will be dissecting his footwork later. And the tone will change. Because this is how greatness is born. Not in silence, but under fire. Not when it's easy, but when every word feels like a test. Shedeur's already facing the toughest opponent of all, public perception, and he's still standing tall. Still calm, still confident. And that's why I think this era, this moment of overexposure and unfair judgment, might actually be the making of him. The spotlight can blind you, but it can also sharpen you. And when his moment finally comes, when he steps under center for real and all the noise fades into crowd roar, we'll look back on this stretch and realize this was his foundation. This was his proving ground. They want to humble him before he ever rises. But that's not how greatness works. Every generation of football gives us that one player who refuses to fit the mold. The one everyone doubts, mocks, and nitpicks until suddenly they're too good to ignore. And right now, that's Shedeur Sanders. The same confidence they call arrogance. Give it time, it's going to be redefined as fearlessness. The same swagger that's criticized in interviews will be praised as leadership when he starts stacking wins. That's how this league works. Once you win, they rewrite your story. But right now, we're watching the part no one wants to admit is necessary. The part where you're misunderstood. Because what people call cocky is often just conviction that hasn't been proven yet. And that's where Shedeur lives. In that gap between doubt and dominance. Every great quarterback starts there. Josh Allen did, Lamar did, even Mahomes did. Before the MVPs and rings, there was a moment where everyone said, he's not ready. And then they showed up on Sunday and made believers out of all of us. That's exactly where Shedeur's headed. The truth is, confidence doesn't just make you a better player, it makes people follow you. Teammates can feel when a quarterback believes in himself. That energy is contagious. That's what separates the good from the great. You can't fake that kind of belief. And when Shedeur walks into a locker room, that energy is going to spread fast. It's already happening. You can see it at Colorado. Players feed off him. They move differently when he's in control. That's leadership you can't teach. That's presence you have to earn. And let's be real, this league needs that. It needs guys who make you feel something. We've got too many polished press conferences, too many just taking it one game at a time answers. Nah, we need players who bring electricity back to the field, who play with emotion, who make you stand up when they walk into the frame. We need quarterbacks who don't just play the game, but live it. Guys who can look at the world doubting them and say, watch me. That's why this whole story matters more than people realize. It's not about one viral quote. It's about what it represents. It's about the next wave of players who won't apologize for believing in their own greatness. Michael Irvin saw that. He wasn't defending ego. He was defending evolution. He was defending what this game used to be about: confidence, courage, competition. And that's why I'm saying it now. The same people calling Shedeur too confident today will be calling him magnetic a year from now. They'll say, he's got that aura. He's got that leadership. He's got that it factor. That's how it always goes. Once the wins come, the narrative flips. So yeah, let them debate his words. Let them clip every interview and analyze his tone. Let them pick apart every gesture, because none of that matters when the lights come on. The truth of this story won't be written by microphones or media panels. It'll be written on the field. And when that moment hits, when Shedeur finally silences all the noise and the scoreboard does the talking, we'll remember this debate. We'll remember this moment. Because this wasn't arrogance. This was the start of something special.